Man in white in the woods. My brother, myself, and a group of friends were walking through the local woods. We came up on a campsite that wasn't there previously. But what was a campfire was a list of weird ingredients, animal hearts, and other freaky things. We quickly left the site. Fast forward 13 years, and one of my other friends, who was a college friend who visited the area, didn't hang out with any of us until recently. She started telling us about how her and one of her cousins went out visiting years before. Were walking through that same path in the woods. Before we mentioned it, when we were driving past the area, anyways, she explained to us in detail how a man dressed in white robes was standing in the woods, alone chanting something. When they asked from the trail if he was alright, he turned around and began chasing them out of the woods. The weirdest part, he chased them on all fours. Now, I don't know if these two incidences somehow had something to do with one another, but it sends chills up my spine, since I'd grown up with those woods in my backyard, and took the path with my brother all the time, since it was the shortest way to get to the town's football field. Screaming deer, bounding up mountain on hind legs. This experience happened to me while camping in the wilderness of eastern Washington, near the Canadian border. Two friends and myself were sitting around the campfire. We were camped on a large flat about midway up a mountain we were hiking. All of a sudden, we heard a strange screaming noise. The screams were shrill and came in consecutive 1 to 2 second bursts. Here's my attempt to describe the noises. 1 second beat. 1 second beat. The noises were getting closer, and I asked my more wilderness experienced friend if it could possibly be a predator. I know mountain cats can make screaming noises. He said he didn't think it was, but we've still grabbed our rifles. The noise is getting closer, and we can see an animal coming towards us, straight up the fairly steep grade of the mountain at a fast pace. I would clock the speed at 25 miles per hour easily. It was about the speed of someone on a motorbike going a fast rate. We grabbed our rifles and took aim as the animal bolted straight towards our campsite. But what we saw next was not a predator. It was a deer, bounding in huge leaps, screaming, entirely on its hind legs. The deer was hopping like a pogo stick with its 4 legs held in front of it, the look of pure terror in its eyes, reflected in the firelight, which will haunt me forever. I looked for the video of deers on their hind legs and such behavior, and I've only ever seen deers getting food out of trees or possibly fighting another deer on their hind legs. My friends joke and say that the deer got into some bad mushrooms, but it was, truly, the strangest experience of my life. There's something in the shearer's hut. This is a truthful account of what my cousin and I experienced in an old abandoned shearer's hut last year. To this day, we have no conclusion to the strange outcomes that night. My cousin Tony and I enjoy our driving to our own isolated spot in no man's land and enjoying our campfire accompanied with drinks. The spot was about a 10-minute drive off a sealed road, which is about a half a mile's drive from the nearest town, Moree, rural New South Wales. On this gravel road, we would always pass a run-down shearer's hut, surrounded by hip-length grass. The hut had broken windows, peeling weatherboards and torn fly screens. A naive definition of spooky. We decided one night to face our fears and explore it, hoping it held no squatters or brown snakes. To make sure of this, we first circled the hut and shone a spotlight through all the windows, occasionally halting and squinting at whatever resembled blood or a noose in the window at first glance. We decided it looked harmless, so we pulled out of the vehicle. We slowly began to climb the stairs, our boots creaking on every step. We shone the light on the front porch as we approached it, revealing a mass amount of shattered glass. Cold shivers crawled up my spine. We spun open the fly screen in an anxious thrust. As we entered, that was once a living room. Swallows fluttered over our heads and retreated to their mud nests in the ceiling. The spotlight hovered over emptiness, only to reveal the thick airborne dust throughout the house. We explored separate rooms, went through the vintage, deteriorating kitchen, and found ourselves in the same room, facing an old torn-up mattress on a low spring frame. "Someone's been here," Toby said. "Yeah, doesn't look like they stayed for very long, though," I replied. I felt a tremor, perhaps a demonic presence. but I kept it to myself, as I did not want it to manifest. We proceeded to kick some walls to test our strength, as youth do. As we began to get into our joyful disruption of the plaster, we wondered why it was breaking so easily. As Toby shone the spotlight closer, we realized, fuck, that's a Speedos. We promptly exited the hut and jumped into the vehicle. As we drove down the road, we sat in silence. We later decided our night shouldn't end there, so we went to an old fishing spot. Toby was awfully silent in the car trip, but broke it by asking me, "How are you feeling, dude?" Puzzled, I responded, "Alright, how are you?" Toby hesitated for a moment and responded, "Fucked." We discussed the symptoms. They sounded nothing like I had experienced before. We decided to skip the fishing spot and go back to the farm. Another completely silent trip. As soon as we arrived, Toby carelessly parked his vehicle and stumbled out, vomiting. I gave him some space as anyone would, one feeling that sick. I questioned a possible sickness from the Speedos exposure, but I was with him, and I was feeling fine. I thought it was definitely something in the huts that made him feel sick, but why wasn't I sick? We had both eaten the same meals the past few days, hadn't been under the influence of anything that night, and hadn't been in contact with anyone, as we were mainly on an isolated farm. Toby was vomiting all that night and into the morning, where he soon went to the hospital. The doctor had no idea what was wrong with him, and gave him some dissolvable pills to prevent the frequent vomiting. The sickness only lasted about 24 hours for Toby, but even then, he still says it is the worst he's ever felt in his life. Camping gone wrong. This happened last 2016. We were having a Girl Scout and Boy Scout camping at our school. The campers are in 5th and 6th grade. I was 5th grade at the time, so our groups are based on what section and what grade you are, if I'm not mistaken. There are 5 groups of girls, and I forget the number of boys that time. We have a 4th grade member. I am the leader of our group. We are from section 1, so we are the first group. Day 1. We kinda just had a party, but not. We danced and all. The time is between 11 a.m., and we went to our school. The little party happened at other schools. We were supposed to eat our lunch, but we decided to talk about horror before eating. We ate, and the designated dishwasher is Sasha, so we're talking about all things. Then after Sasha finished washing the dishes, she told us she heard someone talking in the restroom. The restroom is on her left side. We told her maybe that is just us, but she insisted that there is someone in the CR. We opened the CR and found no one, so we laughed it off. After everything, the time is between 4 p.m., and the head leader decides to have us have our snacks. We were supposed to eat our snacks in a little open ground in front of the principal's office in the E-room. I'll tell you the description. The front gate's left is the principal's office, E-room, and the primary rooms. The right side are the kinder rooms and the intermediate rooms. We have a black gate, and on the right side of it, it's a science garden. On left is garden. So, the seats are all occupied, so we decided to eat our snacks in our own room. We were talking to each other when we heard a loud bang on the CR. We opened it, and again, we found no one. We started getting creeped out. After some time, probably just minutes, we decided to have a selfie in our room. We looked at the photos, and there was something in the CR. A figure. We were all terrified and decided to leave the room. We sat on one of the chairs at the open ground and chatted with our friends and older friends, probably 6th grade boys and girls. Then, one of the 5th grader came to us and said that she saw someone in our room, CR. She took a photo and handed her photo to us. We saw the photo and saw a figure standing in the door of the CR. Of course, we're creeped out. It's night and we're doing a campfire. We are in our lines and it's by height. I can see what's in the science garden clearly from my distance. The GS behind me are trying not to cry, and me being friendly asked them why. They pointed their fingers to the science garden and don't want to be caught, but we are behind some other scouters that the head leader can't see us. I took a glance at the science garden and saw some figure standing in the dark. The place is blurry, but it elevates, somehow. Looks like it's elevating, levitating. It's a total ghost because it levitates. It has a figure of a 6 feet tall man. I swear there is no one there, no janitors or security either. I'm very, very creeped out, sleeping, but I have no choice. I insisted I'm going to sleep here. My mom brought me food and my other members and went home. The food there has a small portion, so yeah, we decided to sleep at the tent, but so many mosquitoes, So I decided to sleep at our rooms. Me, Emmy, and Sasha. We slept and I was awoken because of the sound of someone talking in the CR. It's so warm, I need to turn the electric fan to the max. It's 3 a.m. and still I can't sleep. I remember we slept, at the time, 12 o'clock to 1 a.m. I went to get my phone and read some Wattpad story. Then I heard the CR door creak as I saw some figure. It's not clear because the only light is a desk lamp. I'm not totally scared because I can hear people talking outside. They don't sleep, you know? I tried waking my friends up, but they won't wake up. So I got my flashlight and went out. Apparently, they woke up some seconds after I woke up. White wolf camping. So, I've had a few experiences that are pretty strange. I do try to find normal explanations for things, but for these times I really can't find a believable one. I guess I'll start with the earliest. I went to the first few years of elementary school at a school on a small hill above a housing project. There was woods between the houses and the school, and they were still and still are not nice woods. As in, crackheads build little shelters in them, and people burn stolen cars and other stuff. Anyways, I pulled up to school one day, in the 3rd grade, with my uncle, and we were getting out, when I saw this huge white dog down in a little valley, where the woods began. Not sure how far away it was, sniffing around a burned-up car that was close enough to see the seat, wheel and console inside fairly well. Some other people noticed us watching and came over. People were yelling, and it wasn't fazed in the least. My uncle had binoculars in the bed of his truck, and we took them out. I swear it looked like a white wolf. I was obsessed with them when I was a little kid, and I've seen some in person. I know it pretty much couldn't have been, but it's what it looked like. They didn't let us go out for recess that day, and they searched the woods. The weird part is the next day at recess, I look up at that little rise behind the black top where we played, and there is its face peeking through some long grass and bushes. It stayed for a good chunk of time. I remember being really distracted because I was trying to not let on that I was seeing it. Eventually, I looked away when someone talked to me, and it was gone when I looked back. Probably just a curious or hungry dog, but it was pretty damn big. Plus, my best friend from high school told me she was a huge white dog that just didn't look physically right somehow. Like almost deformed, but not in a gross way. On the road behind that school in woods. The next big thing happened when I was 12 or 13. I went camping not too far from where I live, in central Massachusetts with my mom, my friend and mom's best friend. It was in a little trailer my mom's friend's brother owned. The campground itself was unsettling. It was run by this older couple that were somehow looking like straight out of a Patchelian horror story. Nice enough, but very odd. The place was a little run down in spots too, but up the road in the campgrounds by the showers was really nice. Anyways, one night, my friend and I were watching a movie, Aladdin I think, and just hanging out on one of the beds. We had been making up scary campfire type stories earlier, but that wasn't the mood at that point. I walked across the tiny trailer, maybe 10 steps to shut the window. It was in a little recess where the dining room and table and other bed was. I reached for the window and something outside growled. It was deep and loud, something big. I just kinda froze it, and my eyes started to water, and I calmly asked my friend if she growled. She kinda answered absentmindedly. Wasn't even paying attention at the time. I bolted back to the bed. Don't even know if I shut the window. Seconds after I hit the bed next to her, something hit the upper edge of the trailer above us, hard. I felt the hit, and it was not the impact of me landing on the bed either. I felt it against the metal of the wall on the bed. Well, of course, freaking the hell out because my friend felt the hit. What weirds me out is my mother and her friend, probably about 30 feet away at the picnic table, heard and saw nothing but us screaming. Then I was on 19 or 20. I was standing in my mother's bedroom doorway talking to her, and a friend of ours. I swear to you, something touched my back. I felt 3 distinct fingers on my lower right back, just above my waistband. I turned slowly from my waist, and the pressure stayed, until I was looking fully behind me. I was not close enough to the actual doorframe for it to have been my clothes pressing against me. It was so physical that for a split second, I thought it was my mom's friend trying to get by it, until I realized she was next to my mom. Then maybe 6 months ago, I was standing in the kitchen of my last apartment facing the dining room wall. I was against the sink, and outside the kitchen is the dining room table, with the living room to the right off of that. On the wall behind the table is the light switch for the light above the table. The light can be controlled on the kitchen switches. I was more than an arm's length from them. However, I watched the dining room light come on, as in, the switch on the wall opposite me flicked upward. After I finished being frozen to the spot, I walked over and spent no less than 10 full minutes trying to get the switch to stay down in a way that would have only needed a thump on the wall to dislodge it. There was no way. The switch was either on or off. It wouldn't balance in the middle. And I know the switch moved because not only I heard it, but my mother has this annoying little pet peeve where the switches have to be in the same direction if they're on or off. The switch by me was down. That one was up. Gravity doesn't work upwards. I have no idea what happened there. So that's the main incidences. There have been others that were probably nothing. And I have a friend who has seen some stuff. The touch on my back is one that really disturbs me. I didn't feel threatened or anything like that. It was just so real. I had a friend place 3 fingers on the same spot later for comparison. And I felt exactly the same. It might sound mundane to read, but to actually have it happen is the eeriest thing ever.